Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
From the Steel Valley Soccer Studios in Boardman with Tim Walsh, Dan Conley, and Chris Platten. This is Pitchmen.
All right, welcome to Steel Valley Soccer Podcast Pitchmen. We are here on location at Canfield Stadium, watching the Salem versus Canfield girls game here in front of us. We got a little bit early to our game of the week. I'm Tim Walsh, as always. I'm with Dan Conley.
How's everybody doing?
Good. I have my trusty soundboard with me that everybody is to blame for helping us out in life. We'll just get right into it. Let's talk about our top 5 teams on the boys' side. Dan, Mooney at number 1. What do you think?
Before the season started, we had them as our number 1 team coming in, and so far they've given us no reason to remove them from that number 1 spot. They haven't lost yet. I believe they're 2-0-2 at this point.
Yep.
They've looked good. They've played 4 tough games. Like I said, they've done nothing. Nobody has done enough to overtake them as of yet.
No, they played a very tough game at Howland. They had to come back. They played a very tough game against Canfield here last night where they had to come back, and they're finding ways to get results. I know tie is not what they come into the game thinking about, but it's better than a loss.
Right. You don't need to win every single game. Mooney coming in, not winning all 4 of their games, I'm sure they kind of circled a 4-0 start. But with that being said, I think the Howland team gave them a little bit more fits than they thought, and so did Canfield. Canfield, their first 2 games were a tie against JFK and a loss against Poland. Not saying they overlooked Canfield, but Mooney as a whole, I think every team views them the same way, so they're getting everyone's A game every night in, night out.
Oh, absolutely. They got a target on their back from last season, all 3 or 4 seasons. Talking to Coach Britton, he said this group of boys play for championships. They've never not played for a championship, whether it be district, regional, almost state. So they've got a target on their back that's pretty large. And some players that they have playing for them, Aiden Herb's one of them that's having a great season so far.
Right. What a luxury to be able to say that you've only ever competed for championships. That's things that every team has goals for, but they're living it.
Yeah. Him, Angel Alvarez, which I believe is a sophomore. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, he is.
But these core group for Mooney, Janice is another one. Graziano's their goalie, Aiden Markey, had a heck of a save last night at Canfield.
Nick Pregabon's another one.
Oh, yeah. So they just kind of re-upped. Yes, they did lose some talent to graduation, but they're, getting just as good a guys coming up. And hopefully by postseason time, they'll be firing on all cylinders. All right, number 2, who do we have?
We have Howland at number 2. And again, that's where we had them going into the season. Right now they got a record of 2-0-1. With wins against Lakeview and Poland, and they had that tie against Mooney. You can just pencil them in every year until you hear otherwise as a top 2 team every single year in and year out.
Absolutely. When you have a solid coaching staff that's been there for a while, Coach Stiles does an amazing job. He always gets assistants that really help out, and they haven't lost yet. They're right up there with Mooney as one of the most successful teams in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, they're the standard of the boys' side, and they're the pillar of where you want to be as a program. Trying to rebuild every single year. And I think this year he's not saying this team is not good, because this Howland team is very good. I don't think they have. I think you said they don't have the firepower they've had in the past. Maybe not the crazy superstar players, which they do have some very good players. I think they're doing a little bit more. A little more coaching than they did a couple of years ago. Not saying they didn't do that they weren't coaching. I just think those teams in the past few years at Howland were so darn good.
Sometimes with teams like that, you just got to get out of the way and let them do their thing. This year is probably a little more scheming and working on stuff in practice that you're going to want to see in the game. You're right, not as much firepower as before, but God, they had a lot of it before. Right. So it's not a bad thing. Well,
they also
not a good thing either, really.
They also didn't have the success because of their firepower. I mean, that aided them certainly, but it's always been their defense. They've always given up less than almost 10 goals an entire year, and they're playing like 20 plus games a year.
Yeah, and they've got Caleb Rose, had an amazing free kick at Poland last night. Sent us the video. We were able to post it. He's playing at a very high level. He might be one of the best players in the area right now.
I completely agree with you.
There's a first. Outside of that, there's going to be some names that come out throughout the season. We went to one game. We saw some plays that were going well. But they have a couple guys coming back. But there's going to be some new names being said for Howland boys. Number 3, Dan.
We have Hubbard at number 3. They're currently 2-2-0. They do have 2 losses, but both their losses are against very high quality teams. They lost to Revere to start the year 2-0, and that game was very close. It was 0-0 at halftime. Revere ended up getting 2 second half goals, and they also lost to Orange. That Pepper Pike Orange?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, and they lost 1-0 to them. They beat Fitch. I don't remember offhand who their other win is against. But Hubbard, one thing they did very well last year. If anybody watched like the English Premier League, there was a team called Leeds United. They ended up getting relegated, but they pressured like crazy all 3 facets of the field. And Hubbard does the same thing. They defend tenaciously. They always pressure the ball. They use a lot of subs, and they got some big players on their team, and they got some athletic players as well. And it just gives teams that don't have that athletic counteract fits.
Yes, and they got Coach Reinhardt does a very good job. He's been there for a very long time, and this is kind of what we're noticing is that programs that have coaches that are there for a while and are able to put, youth program, alumni games, put it all together. That's where you're seeing the most success.
Yeah, I'll never forget when Howland beat Bay the year they won the state title. They were interviewing Bay's coach after the game, and he says he really felt bad for the seniors. He said he remembered coaching I forget what the kid's name was, but as a 10-year-old, he was out there dribbling the ball 25 times, and that just showed how much he was involved in the youth program. And it's no secret the teams in our area that get involved with the youth teams have the most success once they make it to the high school level. Absolutely.
You definitely need a feeder program if you're going to be successful long term and not just a flash in the pan, maybe 1 or 2 years. Hubbard, I think, always sneaks under the radar a little bit. I feel like us, I only went to one game. We only went to one game last year. We might have to go to more to really see what they have because they do have some firepower in their attacking third.
Right. They do play some... I think it's because of the conference. They do have some down games where they're playing very subpar competition, but I think they stepped up their out-of-conference schedule, and like I said, booked Revere, booked Orange. They beat Austintown Fitch. They're a fun team to watch, and they're young too.
Yeah. Number 4.
Yeah, Warren JFK at number 4. They come in at 2-0-3.
Yep, they just had that other tie, I believe. They tied Ursuline.
Yes. That's a team, we saw them in our first game of the year when we did Canfield versus JFK. I'm sorry, our second game of the year. And they're just as good as they were last year. They got Nick Ryan up top, who's going to be a Mr. All everything for that team. They got a very solid midfield with his brother and Lucas Rapika.
Yeah, Rapika surprised me, specifically seeing him on the field controlling it. Looked like he was about to pass out from exhaustion, got the energy and was putting pressure up in their third.
Right. One thing that sticks out with me is how hard JFK fights. That game against Canfield, they don't really sub a whole lot. And the second half, they looked like they were playing with maybe like 50% fitness. They were down the whole entire game, and then all of a sudden, the last 10 minutes of that game, they pulled whatever little bit of energy they had left, and they left it all on the field. And they almost stole that game. They were down, they scored a goal, and then Nick Ryan just had one go wide. They had one go header off the crossbar. I was very impressed by them. Whether their depth will hinder them going forward, they're going to take care of most of their schedule. Mm-hmm. But when they start playing the games that count, come October, November, we'll see if the depth that they lack gives them issues going forward.
Yeah, they're a couple injuries away from having guys that are a little undersized, inexperienced into the game. So let's hope everybody stays healthy, and every team actually, but specifically JFK for their short bench.
And they got a heck of a goalie too in Nico Simonero.
Oh, he makes it look spectacular. We'll say that. He's out there. He won our player of the game. He had 3 saves that I think a lesser goalie would have let in, and that could have been a 5-2 game instead.
Yeah, they also got a Condeleone.
Yeah.
He's another good attacking option next to Nick Ryan.
Thank you for taking the pronunciation of his last name.
I hope I got it right.
All right, last one in our top 5.
Last one, I think, is the one surprise this year. I think the first 4 teams were teams we thought coming into the year were going to have a good squad. Number 5 is Fitch. They're at 2-1 coming into the year. They opened up the year with a win against Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. They end up dropping their second game to Hubbard, and they won their third game against Poland. And they have a very young team. a team that no one, they graduated quite a bit. They graduated a goalie that was been playing for them for the past 4 years, and they're playing a good brand of soccer. They got, like I said, they got a couple freshmen that start. They got a lot of underclassmen playing big time minutes for them. We'll see if they can keep it going with as young of inexperience as they have, but they've been a fun team to watch so far.
I agree, but I also think that they're benefiting a little bit from a lot of teams being down from their last season.
Absolutely.
I think that some other teams that, like United has struggled a little bit at the beginning of this year here. They barely beat Ursuline 2-1, where last year it was kind of a convincing win for them. So that's a team. Canfield is struggling a little bit at the beginning of the year here on the boys' side. Coach Bailey's going to have them running right pretty soon. So those are two other teams that could possibly take over that fifth spot if Fitch doesn't continue their success.
Right, and these are all teams that we have a small sample size right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Luckily, we're going to get to see all these teams battle each other.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. But beating Notre Dame Cathedral Latine, that puts them on the map a little bit. Unfortunately, Poland, again, is down. They've had some injuries, too, that have plagued them a little bit this year. So Fitch is there off a quality win, and they've got a lot of youngsters in there, too. So there's that. Okay, so that's the boys' side. Let's take a look at the girls' side of things. Who's number one? Let me guess.
Go ahead.
Canfield.
How did you know? Canfield comes in. They're an absolute juggernaut so far at this stage of the season. They come in undefeated. They're as good as advertised so far. They got Macy Toporsa, who was our player of the girl on the girls' side last year. She looks. I didn't know how she could get better, but she somehow did get better over the season. Mm-hmm. I really haven't seen. I haven't seen her play in the regular season, but preseason last year, there's no weak spot on that team at all.
When you have 3 Division I college commits on your starting lineup, around here especially, you're going to have a special squad.
Right.
When we have Hannah Wahib going to YSU, Ava Paris going to YSU, and Macy Toporsa going to, Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yep.
So them as the core in your middle. And I know last year Wahib got a little bit of credit. Vivian Nora is also in that conversation. She got some credit for him, as obviously Macy Toporsa. But that Ava Paris, she went a little bit unnoticed because of how deep into the back kind of defensive center mid she played. And there's not a lot of stats there and not a lot of flashy play there, but she was consistent and didn't make a lot of mistakes. And that helped get to the regional final where they lost, to Bay 1-0.
Right. Yeah, I think Canfield plays a very aesthetically pleasing brand of soccer. They have a lot of off-the-ball runs. They have a lot of triangles around the ball. And a lot of times that takes some time into the season to get everyone on the same page with that. And they've been hammering their opponents so far, and it's been flawless for them. They almost look like in mid-season form right now. And they got some big games coming up, too.
Oh, yeah. They do not shy away from competition. I believe they're playing at Matt Free Stadium down in Columbus against St. Mary's, one of the bigger schools down there. Macy Toporsa is coming off an injury, so she's kind of slowly getting back, but her slowly getting back is probably better than 90% of some of these roster players right now. Number 2.
We have the Howland Tigers at number 2, so they're both number 2 on the boys and the girls side. This was a tough call between them and West Branch, but we gave it to Howland because of their the quality of wins they have. They played a very tough schedule out of the gate. They played Olmsted Falls. They played North Canton Hoover. They played West Branch. Can't think of who the other team is they played, but they have a quality squad. They play the game the right way. They use the entire field. The game we went and saw them play against West Branch, I've never seen anybody dominate the game as much as they did in the first half against West Branch. West Branch made some adjustments in the second half and kind of played much better in the second half. But Howland's got a quality squad. They got Ava Yanucci up top playing like that number 10 role, attacking. She's a fantastic playmaker, scorer. They got great wings out there. They have a freshman up top who's extremely fast and looks light years above being a freshman. Mm-hmm. They got a pretty good goalie too. So
yeah, goalie had a couple nice saves. Was almost a player of the game. They have Imogen DeBlois, who's a senior, not a junior. I messed that up in our players to watch. They have Gracie Vilwalk. She's playing well on the side. So they have a good group. And I was saying earlier when we watched them, they kind of play like a boys team a little bit. To where if you ever see a boys game, it's more possession, it's more small ball leading up to a play instead of more of longer passes and letting the ball do the work. It's interesting to see how that's going to play out for them. I think it's going to be beneficial, but time will tell. Coach Mitchell was 2 years ago our coach of the year, so he knows what he's doing. It seems to be they have a good thing there in Howland, and they talking to the athletic directors, they give a lot of credit to the coaches, and that's nice to have that backing by your athletic director.
Right. We thought coming into the year that Howland was going to be the number 1 Division I school on the girls' side, and they are light years ahead of everybody else at this point in the game.
Absolutely. Where we're at 3?
Yep. Number 3, we have West Branch. They're coming in at 3-0-2. I believe they just tied Berkshire, who's a state title contender.
They tied Berkshire and they beat Streetsboro.
Right. So, West Branch is at number 3, and it's almost like a shame to put them number 3. But the top 3 on the girls' side is actually all of our top 5 on the girls' side is so stacked. But West Branch, they're there just on virtue of who they've played. At no fault of their own, they've taken care of business. They came back against Howland and got a goal. They look good. They play good. They play a very, I want to say, easy style of soccer, but they play right in front of them. They don't play anything crazy. They play with the high percentage things. They defend as one. They attack as one. They got crazy skill in all 3 levels of the field as well.
I know Coach Ficco is really paying attention to detail there, seeing some of her warm-up drills she had. They are paying attention to details, and it's kind of paying off for them. I think that if I had to say who had the better game, I think Howland played the better game when we were there. But West Branch did enough to tie to get the result. And again, I think it's going to come together. I know Bree Thomas, again, coming off an injury as well. But they have Sophia Gregory. They have Chloe Dennison.
Sam
Gossett. Sam Konoval. Their goalie, whose name escapes me right now.
Zoe Sander.
Thank you. They have a very talented squad. So I think for them, they're trying to keep it simple and trying to just build off of that and get to mid-season form. Again, a lot of these teams only play 2-3 games.
Right.
This is a 17, 18, possibly 20-game season for them. So keeping them healthy and playing it simple, I think, is good. If we could have a 2A and 2B, that's what we would do, but we don't. So they're third based off of some quality wins from Howland. Number 4.
Number 4, we have United. That's a team that I really don't know a whole lot about this squad here. But they have been taking care of business. They beat Salem in their opening game, which it shocked me. It may not have been shocking other people who are more privy to the situation. But they have steamrolled everyone they played against. They beat Springfield 5-0. They come into right now 3-0. I think they're going to play Crestview. That's a little bit tougher of a team. But they're playing down in Columbiana County. We'll see what kind of quality opponents they're going to have going forward, how much that's going to get them battle tested for the playoffs. But they are taking care of business convincingly thus far.
Yes, Coach Sarah Hodgkinson. I always feel like I'm putting more syllables than there should be on her name, but she does a very good job over there. As a matter of fact, last night they just lost their first game.
Oh.
I'm giving you bad information on our sheet.
Yeah.
They lost their first game to Badger 4-1. So these are high school kids. Sometimes when school starts, or even the Canfield Fair goes on, sometimes they're extra tired or their mind's somewhere else during these games, and that could happen. That could happen to anybody. That happens to me, and I'm old. Last one on the list, number 5.
Number 5, we have Salem coming in. We're going to see them play the number 1 team, Canfield, today. They have Riley Hutton. There's no surprise there. She scores almost a career amount of goals every year she plays.
Correct.
Starting as a freshman. The biggest thing for Salem is Riley Hutton gets a lot of goals. Do they have another scoring option if another team can take her out? Just man mark her and take her out of the game. Do they have enough firepower outside of her?
Correct. You don't want to rely too much on one player because you become one-dimensional, even though you could probably get success a majority of the season. But they're coming in here tonight against Canfield. I don't believe that you can play one player against this talented Canfield team.
Right. Not saying they only have the one player, but that's who gets all the accolades from Sam.
Correct.
Is her. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm excited to see how she does against this level of competition, because there's not a weak area in Canfield. I want to see if she can create her own space, if she's going to need more help giving her balls like into space or something like that. But I'm excited for this.
But the crazy thing about Salem is they lose the first game to United. It's not, I don't want to say rivalry, but they're close schools. And then they come out and they score 4 goals against Howland with a 4-4 tie. Then they play Mooney, who's a district runner-up last year, might have lost a little bit to seniors in graduation. Come out and barely beat them 2-1. So, we always say the distributive property doesn't work. Just because team A beats team B and B beats C, A might not be C, if you follow that.
Yes.
Everywhere math teachers like, yes, we know this well. So it could just be matchups and how they have it, but it's a confusing start for us to try to pinpoint things. And again, a short and small work sample. Hopefully throughout the season, it'll make more sense to us and things will start to become more clear for us. So very good teams. Dan, are there any teams on the boys or girls side that you think are just outside the cusp of the top 5?
Yeah. Starting off with, I think it's United is the first one coming in. They got Maddox Andrea. He's just scoring goals. He's been doing that since he was a freshman. they've been taking care of business. They beat Ursuline. Ursuline was one of the teams too that were on the outside, just on the outside looking in. They had a win against Poland negated because of an ineligible player.
Yeah,
but they're playing well as just as much as the other teams are. I think my last team is Canfield. They may not have a win on the year, but they have a lot of talent. I think it's only a matter of time. I think you spoke to this earlier. It's only a matter of time before Canfield figures it out and puts it all together. They have a ton of athleticism. They got a ton of skill. They are very fast. I think it's losing Fleming to a club this year, I think hurt them majorly. He was the engine for them last year. Mm-hmm. I think they're trying to find that engine. They're trying to find that spark in the middle of the field because they have great defending and they have great attacking. They're just kind of lacking that little bit of connectivity between the two levels right there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. United, Wyatt Madure, I hope I'm saying that right, just had the school record for assists with 40 in a career, so that's impressive for him. So they've got a nice squad. They've got a lot of good players back, the core from last year. They did lose a few, but they'll get it back together, just like you said with Canfield. The one that gets, I think, it's tough for us to put on there because of their strength of schedule is Girard. I think Girard has a couple of very good players. I can't think of his name. They've got Zach Morris and Jacob Gugliotta. So they've got a couple of really good goal scorers up there. And if their defense can help out and, hold the ship down, I think they're going to get a lot of wins. And if they start playing these tougher teams in the latter part of their schedule, I think it'll show us a little bit more of what they're capable of. On the girls' side of things, I think there's a top five, and then there's a bit of a drop-off. Boardman girls, I think, are showing some things. I want to say they lost to Hoover 1-0. That was the other one that Howland girls beat, Hoover.
Okay.
They lost to them 1-0. They beat Willoughby South. They beat Poland 1-0. So they are just close enough. We need a little bit more out of them if they want to be on the top 5 list.
Yeah, for me, I think it's champions right there as well. They got Taylor Kuhn, who, as well, just like as Riley Hutton, scores a ton of goals every single year. They're having success as well, this early on, and she picked up right where she left off last year of just being the main cog for champion and driving, either assisting or scoring the goals for them.
Yeah, they also have a freshman who we put down on the players to watch. I'm going to let you pronounce her name. Maylee Nadad. Wow, that was good. Guys, give him credit. If you're listening and that's the right way, please give Dan credit because I would have butchered that. So, we are 3 weeks in. This is our 3rd week of 8-week season, so we're close to half. Is there any surprises that we haven't mentioned already?
I think the weather's been a surprise. I think it's been pretty good all year so far. Other than the Friday night football washout.
The monsoon where I went swimming on the way back to the car. There's nothing really that stands out. Just some of the teams that we thought were going to be better off the start that are struggling just a little bit. Injuries could play into that. There's a lot of injuries this year. Some coaching changes. I want to say Boardman girls coach, Derek Patterson, coming from a smaller school. I believe he came from East Palestine into a Division I girls school. I think he's doing pretty well for the first year.
That's a tough thing to jump into.
Oh, absolutely.
He's learning well, though.
And South Range boys in a scrimmage this year. Now, again, you never know who has a full complement of players, but in a scrimmage, they beat Howland 4-1. So if both teams had everything, that's an impressive win.
Right. I think going into this year, I think you mentioned it earlier, but I'll just kind of double tap on it. I think this early in the season, if you're an average team, you're kind of average in terms of years past. You're kind of above average at this point in the year so far. You talked earlier, kind of like everybody has beaten everybody. There's only on the boys' side, it's just kind of Mooney Howland up top. Hubbard's up there. Other than that, everyone's just kind of, it makes no sense on who's winning and who's losing so far.
Well, my biggest upset so far is Poland beating Canfield boys. Now, Poland, again, I don't want to take too much away from them, but they did lose a lot from graduation. But to go out there and win 2-1, especially the way they won in the last minute.
Yeah. They came back, they're down 1-0. They scored 2 goals in the second half late.
That had to be nuts to be there. A little bit of an exciting finish.
And they did it at home, too.
Yeah, so. Gotta love that.
The Battle of 224.
As far as this goes, any other players? I know that there's one other player that I want to mention on our players to watch. Is it Maddie Page from Springfield? who had 5 goals against South Range, and I think she had another 3 in her next game. So she played very well. We're looking at the list right now. I think we talked about just about everybody on this list. And we'll go to the boys' side just to double check that we hit everyone. Oh, Ethan Molachak for Canfield and Gage Sidoris from Ursuline, both having pretty good season. And I love that Gage's number is 12, so he's
right.
12 Gage. If that doesn't scream tattoo later on in life, I don't know what does.
Anthony Ruggles from Austin Towns also had a pretty good start to the year.
And who's the one getting the assist there?
Vince Larson.
Vince Larson. Vince Larson's a good player. All right, moving on to the last portion of our show today. We are still going to do our All-Star Showcase at the end of the season, where we pick about 30 boys and 30 girls, and we have 2 teams. Hopefully this year we are trying to get the YSU Watt Center so that weather is not an option. Dan, it was quite cold that day, huh?
It was quite cold. I remember Michael Daly from Poland wearing long johns in goal.
I remember that day.
It was literally a snowstorm coming down, both in the boys and girls team games, I should say. But it was still high quality soccer. Yeah, if we can eliminate that weather element, that would be better for everybody involved.
Yeah, it was probably, to kick a ball in that cold is probably like breaking your foot every time. So we're trying to get it indoors. We've talked to them. We got a couple messages in them. If you have a connection, help us out. We're going to have our awards again this year. We want to thank all of our sponsors, as we always do. North Jackson Hydraulics, Baird Brothers, Armstrong, Albaco, Packard Thomas, Bodine Perry, Papa John's. Did I say that already?
No, you did not.
Okay, good. And Canfield girls score a goal on the JV side. That's how you know we are here live. And last on our list, but not least, Allstate Insurance with Robert Fusco.
And also, for anybody, we like getting stats. We can only get our stats from either OSSCA if your coach is uploading them, or if you email them to us. So if you have a player, or if you're on a team that you don't see, if you have a player who's scoring goals we don't know about, tell your coach either upload your stats on OSSCA or email us at gmail.com.
Steel Valley SVS at gmail.com. Yes, Dan. But no, also, if you have any awesome highlights, if you want to just tell us about a record you're going to break, the more information we have, the better we can serve you guys, and that's what we're here to do. So thank you so much for helping us out and helping us help everybody. All right, as we leave, I can't go the whole show.
Oh, here it goes.
Top net is the best net.
Without hitting one of those.
I'm okay with that one.
Das Boot.
Henry, my son, when he helped us out, he hit that 1,000 times. We also want to thank the places that we go. The athletic directors, we email you about a week ahead of time, and you really do roll out the red carpet for us. We're in a nice air-conditioned booth right now with a great view, keeping us away from the rain. We want to thank each and every one of you for making what we do special. And I think that's it, Dan. Anything else for the good of the order?
I think you got it.
All right. This has been Steel Valley Soccer Pitchmen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pitchmen, a Steel Valley Soccer production. Email us at steelvalleysvs@gmail.com to give suggestions, corrections, or any comments you want us to hear. For more information, go to steelvalleysoccer.com.